tenant is upset after a leak caused their water bill to increase by hundreds of dollars and their landlord refused to cover the cost of the bill. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting story for you today, and it's coming out of a publication I've not used before called The Cool Down, and it has to do with the story of a tenant who is upset about a water leak, okay? And the water leak obviously caused their bill to just go through the roof, and their landlord is not offering them a credit for it. So, this is one of those situations where what do you think the correct solution to this problem is? Now, my personal opinion is that, hey, this is the reason why I want all the utilities in the tenant's name, okay? So that they have to cover the bills for issues that they cause. This is why we put the utilities in their name so that they get on it. When they see a leak, they're gonna call the landlord immediately. They're not gonna just let that leak run and run when they know they're gonna have to pay that bill. But you know what? When I had to cover the expenses, all the utilities for one of my apartment buildings that I used to own, guess what? People wouldn't call me for maintenance issues. They let their toilet run. They didn't give a crap. They leave, whatever bills that they don't have to cover, all of a sudden they don't give one crap if you as the landlord have to pay it. But when they have to pay it, it's a big issue. So, my question really is, did these tenants know there was a maintenance issue and then not notify their landlord? And if they didn't, right, then they got to take it because they agreed to pay the utilities, okay? They agreed to that. So in this case, I believe that it's a single family home. So, when you're running a single family home, most of the time, the tenants cover all the utilities. And the landlord is not responsible even when there's this sort of leak. Now, some people would say, okay, but shouldn't, a measure like the landlord show a little bit of, sympathy with the tenant and offer to cover some of it? Maybe that's a good argument right there. That's something we can talk about after we go over the total issue. But before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, and leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. So let me say that you're a landlord, okay? We're building the scenario here, right? You're the landlord of this tenant, right? This tenant has had a water leak. Maybe they knew about it, maybe they didn't know about it, doesn't matter. But the utility's responsible for, the tenant is responsible for 100% of the utilities. And they have this leak, causes their water bill to go up by hundreds of dollars. Are you going to give them any sort of credit or compensation for that? Or do you expect the tenant to pay 100% of that bill? Now, me personally, I'm gonna make them pay 100% of that bill, okay? That's my opinion. Now, if you disagree with me, put in the comments down below what you think should be done. Anyway, let's get into this story. Like I said, this article is coming from thecooldown.com, and it says, tenant shares frustrations after landlord refuses to offer credit for astronomical water bill from unpatched leak. What should my next steps be? Let's get into it. And keep in mind, this is from a more tenant leaning publication, okay? A frustrated tenant is running out of options because their landlord refuses to fix an error in their water bill, costing them hundreds of dollars. According to the Post, the Redditor's water bill is incorrectly charging them an exorbitant amount, claiming the tenant and her husband have used over 21,000 gallons of water in just 18 days. That amount is an astronomical amount of water usage for just 2 people. To put this number in context, the average American family only uses 300 gallons of water a day per the Environmental Protection Agency. After talking to the city directly, the tenant found out that the water bill is so high because it's charging them 24 hours of usage as a result of a leak. The tenant then found the leak in their front yard, took pictures of it, and reached out to maintenance. However, the maintenance department said there was no leak in the sprinkler system, even though a part of the sidewalk is always wet, according to the tenant. The ongoing battle with maintenance and their landlord had yet to be resolved as of the tenant's latest update to the Post in late August. What should my next steps be? Asked the tenant. So first of all, okay, let's talk about the sprinkler system leak. Okay, if the maintenance department went out there, checked the system, realized there was no leak in the system, then maybe there is water out in your front yard, but that might not be caused by the sprinkler system. Okay, now my suggestion is that you go and check your toilets. Okay, check for running toilets. Okay, this is one of the most forgotten about things, and it can cause your water bill to be sky high if you let that toilet run for a long amount of time. I've seen it. I've had it. A freaking running toilet caused me to have hundreds of dollars in water charges. Okay? Now, like I said, I do believe that, hopefully this tenant is being honest and didn't just let the water run, right? But I don't know that. I don't know that for sure. And you need to get right on it. So here's the thing with the sprinkler system. I have one in my house. I have one in one of my rental houses. You don't have to leave that thing on. I have a valve down in my basement where I can turn the water off on the sprinkler system. If the sprinkler system really does have a leak, just turn it off. Okay? Just turn it off. You won't be charged for any water because no water will be going to the sprinkler system. So that seems like a simple solution right there. Okay? The second thing, and I know this for a fact as well, okay? If you call up the city or the water department where the water bill is, coming from, and just tell them, hey, I'm financially struggling, you might be able to negotiate a reduced payment on that because of the water leak. Okay, you might be able to. I have heard it happen before. There's no harm in just making a phone call, begging for mercy, telling them, hey, maybe we can cut this bill down by half. This was caused by a water leak. I did not want to use this amount of water, and you know what? Please help me here. I can't afford to pay hundreds of dollars for this water bill. And I have seen it before where the city or the water department or whoever is in charge of the water bill says, yeah, okay, that's fair. You're a good customer. We'll do it. So that's another helpful solution to this problem. Now, the third thing, if you are, hopeful that the landlord is going to help you in this situation, it's just not going to happen. And especially if we're talking about a large corporate landlord, okay? They have their policies in place for a reason. Now, a small mom and pop like me, some of us have sympathy. I don't, but there are some landlords out there who would say, okay, listen, I realize that you have this water leak out here, right? And I am going to cover some of the cost of that additional bill to help you out, or maybe I'll give you a credit on your rent for the month to help you out. Okay, so it totally depends on who the landlord is, but the landlord is under no obligation to pay that water bill, okay? Any more than hey, I accidentally used a ton of electricity and now I want you to pay my electric bill, or anything. It's like, you agreed to cover the cost. The agreement is between you and the city water company. It's not between you and the landlord and you know what I mean? So if you own the house yourself, and I want you to keep this in mind, let's pretend that you own the house that you're renting. Do you expect someone else, well, it's not my fault that it broke? No. But you still have to cover the expenses that are incurred due to it breaking, okay, the water leaking. So I want you to look at this. If you're the tenant, look at this as a learning experience. One, you got to jump on maintenance immediately. Like in my personal home, the one I'm recording this video in, I jump on maintenance immediately because I know that the longer it happens, the worse the damage is going to be, the more it's going to cost me. So even if it costs a lot of money out of pocket, or if I have to jump in there and turn that water off immediately when I hear a leak, and like, oh, well, we don't have a working toilet right now. Well, you know what? I had to turn the whole toilet off because I couldn't get it to stop leaking. And then I had to go in there and fix it. Okay. But you know what I mean? you got to jump on this stuff immediately. Sometimes it's going to cost you some money out of pocket. The landlord has no obligation to cover the cost, and my personal belief is that you're just out of luck. And like I said, call up the water company. You may be able to negotiate a lower price. If it's a small mom and pop landlord, even though they're not under any obligation to pay it, they may be able to help you out. And take this as a lesson learned, period.